Uh, Thank you. Oilet? Weasley? Yeah, close enough. Birdie. Trudian Coup? Not bad. That's a double bogey. Water ball? Oh, hole in one. I guess I probably could have guessed that if I thought about it. Hey, you guys got it. I mean, just I think I played a lot of solid tournaments, and it was nice to get some wins. And I think I've had years in the past on tour where I've played pretty nice, and I haven't been able to win a bunch. And sometimes in this game the breaks go your way, and sometimes they don't. Like you look at a year like Rory's had with some close calls, and like he has a playoff last week, and a guy eagles the final hole to beat him, and that's kind of a tough deal. And he didn't get beat. He didn't lose. He got beat, and so that can happen. And then sometimes the breaks fall your way. Like Tom Kim and I in the playoff at Travelers. He did birdie 18 to get in the playoff, but then he made a bogey on the playoff hole, and just little things like that sometimes can help. Like I remember a couple years ago, Sam Burns made a 40-footer off the fringe to beat me in a playoff at Colonial, and on a day where all the afternoon guys struggled because the wind started picking up like crazy. And sometimes it's an important putt or a little break here or there, and a lot of times this year I felt like I made the putts when I really needed to. I made that 5-footer on 18 in Paris, made a bunch of putts on that back nine. I made a putt to win the Memorial on the last hole, and back nine at the Masters, final round at the Players. I made a lot of putts that were not necessarily on 18 green, but a lot of putts that were really important to keep momentum in the round going. And in years past, maybe sometimes those putts went in sometimes, but this year I felt like for the most part I made a lot of the putts when I needed to. I would say no. I feel like sometimes you're almost living in a simulation out here. Like I still feel like a kid sometimes because I play golf. I don't really have a real job that I go to. I get to go play golf for a living, and I married the girl I dated in high school, and we have a kid now, which is probably even more surreal. But we still have the same friends we did 5 to 10 years ago. Life for us at home hasn't changed a bit. It's just out here things are a bit different. I try to define success at each tournament is doing everything I can to be prepared on that first tee. So I've done all the work. I've done all the prep work. I've practiced as hard as I could. I've done the stuff in the gym that I needed to do. So when I step up on the first tee, I want to feel totally prepared, and then I can go out and play free. And if I have a good attitude and I approach things the right way mentally throughout the entire week, I consider that a successful week. I try not to focus too much on the results, to be honest with you. I try to continue to put in the work, and that's really all it comes down to. That's really my favorite thing about golf is just continuing to practice. And I mean, it's one of my favorite things in the world is going out by myself to the golf course and just practicing when I'm out there all alone. And that's what I enjoy about it, and I like the challenge of trying to get better. And other than that, I try not to think about it too much. Not much. We were at home for most of it. I took a good week off after East Lake, and then I got practicing pretty quickly after that. About it. Other than testing out golf balls, depending on some stuff for alternate shot, pretty much same preparation. Man, you guys love asking me to try to compare tournaments. I'm not good at it. Like, I mean, after the Ryder Cup last year, yeah, it was obviously pretty disappointing, but I don't really know how to compare that to anything else. It was just, that was a week in which I was hoping to play well, and I wasn't able to get it done. It, kind of felt like missing the cut at a major championship would be a good comp for that, but I really don't know. I treat each one of them individually, and like my 2 alternate shot matches that week, I remember not playing great, but then in the best ball match with Brooks, when we played Rahm and somebody else, both of us, or all 4 of us, played some really solid golf. And I mean, I think Rahm made like a 40-footer for eagle on 18 to tie us, and so there's a big difference if his putt that was going pretty far by the hole lips out versus hitting the back and popping up and going in. It's a totally different story in the match, and so that's why I try not to focus too much on results, because especially in the team events, sometimes things can be a little bit fluky. And last year I would say the alternate shot I didn't play my best, but other than that I played some pretty solid golf. Yeah. I think that's changed with experience for sure. I think when I look back at my first couple years on tour, I think it'd be easy to say that I didn't have my best stuff, but when I look back on it, I learned a lot about myself and my game and what I was building towards and how I need to manage myself throughout the tournament week to get better. And I just feel like I'm trying to constantly be learning and continuing to fine-tune things out here. Well, one of them was I'm an extremely hard worker, and I felt like at times early on in my career I wasn't as efficient as I could be. I was putting in a lot of hours out here at tournaments, and I felt like I wasn't as fresh as I needed to be on the weekend, and I may not have brought the same intensity to the first couple rounds as I would the last few. And I felt like it wasn't that I was playing poorly on Saturdays and Sundays and not winning golf tournaments. It was that I was a little bit on the outside looking in. I didn't really play in a lot of final groups, and when you look at my results from the last couple of years, I've been in the final group a lot, and that's obviously the times you're going to have the best chance to win golf tournaments. I feel like playing a golf course for the first time, you're able to learn a lot, and some of it depends on the golf course, but there's always little things about places that you learn, and I feel like the way I play, being able to control my ball, I know I kind of like to have an understanding of where to be and where not to be, and I think sometimes you just learn how to play the course a little better when you play it in competition. Definitely a bit of an understanding of kind of where to be and where not to be. I think it's a pretty simple golf course for the most part. Like we played it the first time, and it wasn't really like there was many holes where guys were discussing what to hit off the tee or what line to take. There wasn't a lot of confusing stuff. The golf course kind of presents itself to you, and you just got to go out there and execute. I mean, there's some holes where you can make some birdies, but then there's also some really good long par threes that are challenging, and some long par fours. And this is a week in which we're going to get I think a different wind direction each day, and so that will provide another challenge playing a golf course for the first time. I mean, just the same way I would handle in a regular tournament. I try to stay in my own little world and execute shots, and I mean, that's pretty much it. I'm trying to give you a better answer than that, but there's really not much. Yeah, I mean, the Olympics was a good example of a week in which I was playing really well, and I wasn't getting a lot out of it. I felt like I was lipping out putts and hitting edges and hitting some really good shots, and you get a weird gust of wind. And I kind of just told myself throughout the middle of the week, just wait until I got hot. And, I got hot kind of at the very last second and was able to make something happen. And then, the guys on top of the leaderboard faltered a little bit. And I guess that's another deal where it's like, what's the difference between 8 wins and 2? Sometimes like, when you got, I think it was Rahm and Fleetwood were coming up behind me, and they were, it's hard for me to remember the numbers, but I think they were at 17 under, playing the 14th hole reachable par 5. I was at 17 under, or maybe I think we were all at 18 under, I'm on 17, they're playing the reachable par 5 14th, all at 18 under. So I'm thinking they got a good chance for at least one of them to make birdie, if not both of them. I have a putt on 17 to think I need to tie the tournament, to tie the lead. And, you got Rahm, I think, maybe made double, and Fleetwood only made par. And I see it on the leaderboard, and all of a sudden my putt I have to tie is now to take the lead. And with the way the last 4 holes are playing, it would be real challenging for somebody to catch me if I was able to birdie 17 and maybe birdie 18. And so it's just a little ebbs and flows of tournaments, and sometimes it falls your way and other times it doesn't. Like, that could have been a different week if, you know, one of them eagles the 14th hole, and all of a sudden I'm now chasing them coming up 18 instead of protecting a lead. So there's little stuff that happens through 72-hole events, and like I said, this year I felt like when I needed to, a putt like that was a really important putt for me to hold at the time, and I was able to get it done. Yeah, I think it's definitely a bit of a different format, but I think it's a lot of fun. I think it's these tournaments are usually some of our fondest memories as players. You know, we get to see guys in a different environment. You know, hanging out in the team room, you get to know guys a lot better. And so, looking back on my career, sometimes I feel, you know, saying that I've only been out here 5 or 6 years, but looking back on my career, these are some of my fondest memories. Is the memories, you know, in the team room, playing with the guys, and they're fun weeks. You know, my manager takes care of a lot of that stuff, and when he originally brought it up to me, I was like, yeah, I mean, it sounds kind of fun. You know, I've partnered with Brooks and Bryson at Ryder Cups before. You know, I've never obviously had a chance to play with Rory at the Ryder Cup, but, you know, those are two guys that I really do miss competing against. You know, Brooks is, I mean, 5 major champions, 5, 6, 5. I mean, that's a pretty cool record for him. You know, he's had a great career, and so he's a guy I love competing against. And you got Bryson, you know, with all his stuff. I think he's a fun guy to be around. And so it definitely interested me. And then the way things fell together, it seemed to work out nice, and it seems like a fun deal. Yeah, I mean, I think pretty much everything happens behind the scenes, right? Yeah. Oh, I don't really know. I mean, really, like, my manager, Blake, does a really great job of keeping everything off the course in order for me, to where, you know, when I get home from a tournament, like, you know, for instance, when I get home after winning a big golf tournament, like, he's not coming up to me with a list of 30 things that I need to do after the tournament. He sifts through them, finds the one that he thinks are going to be, you know, good and important, and then I'll do those things. But he really does all that stuff for me, knowing me personally and the things I like to do. I like coming out here and competing, and I like having my life at home. My goal was never to be a celebrity or famous or anything like that. My goal was always to be a golfer on the PGA Tour, and you know, I like coming out here and competing, and I like going home and living my life. You know, living a normal life. Gosh. I don't know. There's just so many moving pieces in that deal, and it's one of those things where, like, my friendships to guys out there hasn't really changed that much. You know, I think in the beginning when, you know, some of the guys were suing us, that was a bit frustrating for the players out here. But over time, you know, those things kind of fade, and you know, I don't think there was a ton of, you know, ill will for that type of stuff. And, you know, at the end of the day, you know, you have your business and you have your personal stuff, and I try not to cross the lines too much, just because, I mean, things get, you know, a little hazy there sometimes. Yeah. Well, I just think week to week out here on tour, guys are really working hard to do their best. And I think the guys you see make these teams especially, those are the guys you really see get the most out of themselves in their game. And when they're at a tournament, they're doing everything they can to play their best. And there's not that we don't socialize week to week, but you don't get the guys in the same environment where when we're playing a practice round, you know, I can ask Russell what he tries to do off the tee, and he can ask me something about chipping, and then I can ask Xander what he tries to do out of the bunker, and then he can ask me a putting question in return. And it's like, that stuff doesn't happen a ton week to week on tour. And when you're in these team events, it's just a bit more relaxed at the beginning of the week. You see guys in a different environment, you know, where you're sitting with a guy at dinner, you know, at night that, you know, you may have never had dinner with, but you see him, you have lunch at the course, but it's kind of a quick in passing thing. And so getting more time with each other in a more relaxed environment, I think, is important. And I think that's why the memories are so fun, because you just get to know guys better and you make, you know, great friends, and going out and competing together is a lot of fun. Yeah, I mean, I think there's a big difference. You know, I think that's probably why you saw me so emotional after the Olympics. You know, I really do take a lot of pride in playing for my country, and I've had the opportunity to do it a few times, and it's been it's very special. And so, you know, coming here to foreign soil for us, and, you know, trying to compete and bring back the cup, I think will be pretty fun. Um, I mean, I don't really think about it. I just try to be myself as much as I can, and the events are fun. There's also so many people in the room at a time. Like when we're taking the bus out here, it feels like there's 100 people on the bus coming out to the golf course, and so it's a lot of fun. It's loud, but we have a good time, and you know, I think everybody kind of has little roles on the team, but it's not really. I mean, it's kind of tough to figure out. Everybody just kind of meshes together the way they do, and then I don't really think much about it. Sam picked me as a class clown? I don't know. You know, Xander's pretty. I think if you put all of us in a room, Xander, I think, would probably have the loudest voice. I think when a lot of people end up in the room, I'm usually fairly quiet. I kind of just sit in the back and like watching. So if I had to pick, I'd probably say Xander would be the main class clown.
Scotty, outside of golf, give me three things that come to your brain when I say the word Canada.
The maple leaves, maple syrup, the hosers. Yeah, the hosers.
You say Maple Leafs, you mean the team or the
I mean the hockey team. Yeah, I mean the hockey team. So actually, I mean, they're kind of synonymous, right? It's like my first thought was hockey, and then it's like, well, actually, no. Then I think of the flag. I also think of the national anthem. One of the coolest things I saw this year, I think it was Toronto, the Maple Leafs, when they were playing in the playoffs. Did they make the final or the semifinal of the Stanley Cup? What Canadian team was in the final? Then what was the Canadian team in the final? Edmonton, the Oilers. So the Oilers, when they did the Canadian national anthem, and the guy sang like the first word and then just put down the mic, because it's really cool in America how we all sing with the person singing the national anthem, but it was pretty special to hear everybody just screaming the national anthem at a hockey game. That was pretty cool. The United States of America? I mean, it's really tough to say my favorite. I mean, I love, you know, just good old American food. I mean, I feel like that's the thing I struggle with the most going to other countries, the food. So I'd probably say American food. They just asked me that. I think when you have everybody in the room, I mean, Xander typically has a pretty loud voice when everybody's in the room, but Harmon has also got a pretty sharp needle. So it'd be close, I think, between those two. You know what? I think it's two things. I mean, I think a lot of it has to do with how I efficiently practice. You know, I think that's something that I've learned over time, is how to get my work done while I'm working, and then when I go home, I'm able to be present with my family. And that's something that I've tried to train myself over time, and so get the most out of myself here, and that way when I get home, I can forget about what goes on out there and just be present, you know, with my wife and with my son. Yeah, I mean, it's been a wild year. I think after East Lake, I definitely crashed a little bit at home. You know, that I took a good week to myself there, where, you know, I was just kind of around the house, not doing a whole lot, just relaxing, playing, hanging out with the little man, just getting some time to just relax and be at home and try to recover a little bit. But You know, it was a long season. It was a fun season, but I think my body was definitely a touch worn out. So it was really nice to kind of have that week to rest and you know, reboot a little bit. I don't really know or care that much, to be honest with you. I mean, I'm pretty sure the score is still 0-0. I mean, what's the benefit? I mean, the score is 0-0. I mean, my job is to go out in the first match and do my best and try to get a point for our team. And outside of that, I don't really think about if we're favored to win the match or not. You know, my job is to win. All I can do is try to win 1 point on Thursday's match. Can there be? I mean, I guess you could say, you know, one team would have nothing to lose if they're the underdog, but at the same time, like, when you're the underdog, you know, I've been the underdog plenty of times in my career, and I still wanted to win just as bad as I did when I was the favorite. So that stuff for me never really applied too much. Yeah, I'm probably not the best guy to ask that to. No, I mean, I'm internally motivated, and I like to try to prove myself, and almost to myself sometimes. You know, I love competing, and I don't love competing because one of y'all will tell me I'm bad at something. You know, I love coming out here and competing because it's what I love to do. And so I try to do my best to block out the noise sometimes, and I think at times throughout the year it can be challenging when, you know, either I'm having a rough year or I'm having a great year. You know, both sides of the coin can be challenging, and so I do my best to just stay as even keel as I can and not really think too much about that stuff because, like I said, the score's 0-0. It doesn't matter who's favored, who's not favored. You know, we gotta go out there and play. I think a lot of that's up to the captain on who's going where, and you know, I think we have a lot of input at in the beginning, and then you know, we come this week, we kind of test stuff out in the practice rounds, and then kind of do a last minute check, and then you know, he kind of sets the pairings from there. Obviously, yeah. Who's my role model and why? I don't know if I have one specific role model. You know, I look up to many different people in my life. You know, if I think about growing up, you know, I had two great parents that I looked up to, and you know, I think they raised us right. They taught us, you know, right and wrong, and taught us how to treat people the right way. I feel like, and you know, they did a wonderful job. You know, I think of my coach Randy, who was always kind of like a fun uncle for me growing up, and you know, I remember sitting there on the driving range, you know, when I was 8 years old, just sitting there, probably from the time I was 6 or 7, just sitting there and watching professional golfers go out and practice with Randy, and those guys were kind enough to let me sit there and watch them. Like Justin Leonard's an assistant captain this week, and I watched him hit countless balls on the driving range at Royal Oaks, and I sat there and watched, and I'm sure I was fairly annoying at times, you know, being a 7-year-old, be like, what are you doing there? Why are you doing that? What's with that? And you can ask him, but I'm sure he got annoyed at me at times, but all those guys were kind enough to let me sit there and watch them, and so I had a ton of people that I looked up to and was able to learn, you know, different things from. To be a role model, I try not to think about it. I try to be myself, and you know, it's funny coming full circle, and now I'm the guy out there in the driving range, and I got, you know, younger kids around me that can be a bit annoying at times, but we have fun, and you know, I think we got a good chemistry, I guess is how you'd say it, is when I come home from tournaments, you know, it takes a lot for them to say congratulations. They'd rather give me crap than than say congratulations. And so, I think we have fun. They sit there and they help me with my practice and challenge me daily. And if I show up to the course and I'm not hitting it well, I'm going to be hearing it from the peanut gallery behind me on the driving range. So it's really fun kind of seeing it full circle, because I know how much it meant to me when I was a kid to be able to spend time with those guys and have chipping contests and have putting contests, and how much I learned about not only about golf but just about life and how to handle yourself in certain situations. And so I try to be myself when I'm out there and have fun. And I think at times when I was a kid I took myself too seriously, and so I think when you're a kid, whatever sporting event you're doing at the time seems like the most important thing in the world. And now being on the other side of it, I try to encourage those guys to go out and enjoy it and have fun and see where stuff can take them. Sorry, is there anything I'm practicing for the competition? Oh, okay. Not really. So my prep for tournaments is pretty similar. Depending on the event, it may change a touch depending on where we're going. Like if we're going to the British Open, I may practice some different shots and stuff off the tee. But coming to a course like this, which is pretty similar to the course you play in the States, not a lot of my prep work would change very much. Yeah. Yeah. They made me do this earlier. Yeah. Yeah, this one's definitely harder. We long coup de pas? Okay. It's funny. I felt like when we were in France, I was able to pick up on stuff because we were there for a couple weeks, and now that I hadn't heard French in a month, I've totally lost it. Le fa est incroyable. Okay. Am I supposed to pronounce them or am I supposed to translate them? Just pronounce them? Okay. I mean, I'd rather try to translate this one. I have no idea how to do the first word. Say? That's okay. Thank you. Say faux de la coup. Okay. Yeah. You're making me do one more? Yeah, that's fine. Oh my gosh. I hope that says we're going to win the competition. What does it say? Yeah, okay. I'm not going to try to pronounce it. Les États-Unis vont gagner les compétitions. Thank you. Yeah, see you later. Good to go? Oh, one? Okay. I prefer American football.